Welcome to Let's Showcase StarDrive with me, Epiac. So I wanted to start working on a new Let's Play now, and I'm finishing up with my Civ 5 Let's Play, and I decided to do something what I'm now calling a Let's Showcase. These showcases are going to be focused specifically on Kickstarter crowdfunded type games that are still in development stage, are still in alpha and beta. I think that these games are really starting to become the future of gaming and stepping away from where publishers are, as EA has proven with just recently with the release of SimCity, and what publishers can do to a certain amount of games. But I think it's really nice to have a lot of good Let's Plays and video showcasing out there by the YouTube community or another video community that can show what a game really is about and get it out there and market it for the little guy. But anyways, enough of that blah blah about what showcases will be. Let's get into what StarDrive is and get down to the nitty gritty of things. Basically, StarDrive is a 4X space-based game. Think of Galactic Civilizations or Masters of Orion. This game was created by ZeroSum Games, which was founded by Dan DiCicco, who, by the way, has been one of the greatest developers I've seen on a Kickstarter. Not to take away from anyone else, but it seems like every time he posts something on the forum with a bug, 5 minutes later he's come back with the answer and he's going to have it in the patch the next day. Which, by the way, he's, I think, patched this game 4 or 5 times, and when I first got it, it was already pretty well done. Got a lot of polish to it already. Anyways, as I said, this was a Kickstarter crowdfunded game, Desura. Kind of confused because it does have a publisher in Iceberg Interactive, so I don't know how much of a role they have, and I'm not even going to speculate. So let's just get out of that. Basically, what this game is, as I said, it's a 4X space game, but think of it more of a love child of Master of Orion 2, or any Master of Orion for that matter, and Sins of a Solar Empire, and to a small degree, Escape Velocity. You'll see what I mean with Escape Velocity here in a minute, in being able to control certain ships. So, really, this game has gotten me really excited, like literally frothing at the mouth, excited for the last 5 months since I heard about it. And now I finally got in the beta a few days ago. I've been playing it non-stop, and God, do I love it. It is a great game. It's got some bugs. It needs a little bit of polishing, but it is amazing. And I think if you like Master of Orion 2, or really any 4X space-based game, or any 4X game for that matter, I think you will enjoy this game. Before we get into how the game is played and more in depth, let's just basically where this game's currently at. Right now, it came out a few days ago on Steam. The way it is, it's not actually fully released. It's not actually going to be released until April 19th, which is roughly a month from now. But if you pre-order it right now, you get access in the beta, which is where I'm at right now. Actually, currently, I think it's beta 1.05 as of today he released. But I don't have full internet access and couldn't upload the new version, so I'm still stuck with the 1.02 B. So just keep that in mind as I'm playing through this, that a few things might have already changed if you decided to get the game and you're more up to date than I am. So anyways, enough that blah blah blah. Let's go in and I'll show you where you start out in the game. New game. Alright, here's your basic design screen. You start off with you have available to you 8 races. As you see off to the left here. You can kind of see what these races are based off from. A lot of them are based off from animals and various compositions of different things. As you can see, kind of how with the Quarterzine have the owl-like people, and as you see, the Kalrathi are basically panda bears and Japanese-style armor. So it's kind of cool. I like them, and I'll show you a little bit more of them later on. But here's the weird thing with this game that I was confused at first is you're selecting your races, and you're really not selecting these individual traits that you see over here. You're basically selecting the style of ship, which is actually very important to starship construction, which is also something that makes this game very unique and very awesome. But I'll show you that in a little bit. But as I said, you're really not really selecting these different traits. You're selecting the ship style. So really select it on what ship you want to play. I can't tell you a lot and speculate about what every one of them does. I've only managed to get into human and Volfar in my last few days of actually playing the game. So yeah, but basically you can take, for instance, human, which starts with smart, industrious, meticulous, and prototype, and you can just turn off all those, and you can turn them all off. And what it'll do is it'll give you a base amount of points to spend. I think the base is 8. Yeah, the base is 8, so you can spend up to 8 points. You can also take bad things and get more points, but unfortunately, sometimes that kind of hurts you. It's all about how you want to play in the style. So you can also change the name, the singular, plural, all that. Change your flag color, flag type. It's typical stuff with any 4X game. So let's go back and we'll just go with the regular human for right now. You can also adjust the galaxy size, the solar systems, how abundant they are around. We'll just leave it at normal. The amount of points you can have up to 7 currently. And the game mode is currently only in sandbox. We'll see more as the game's coming out, or when it actually comes out, what's available for that. So anyways, let's enough that blah blah blah. Let's go in and check things out. All right. So right away, we're gonna pause, and I'm gonna show you a bit. Now, as I might have not mentioned, this game is not your typical 4X game. You have turns in the game, but it runs at basically it's a real-time game still. This is real-time running. For instance, let's take this ship and move them over here. These games are actually moving in real time, but there are turns in the game. Every 5 seconds is constituted a turn. I'll explain more how that works in a second. Let's explain that by looking at a colony and how that works also. So by scrolling out here, kind of like Supreme Commander, you can kind of get a view of the galaxy and go around and check things out. Not going to worry too much about that. It's fairly easy to learn. It's pretty intuitive. So, but anyways, let's look at a colony and see what I'm saying about turns. Mercury, Venus, Mars. Let's take a look at Mars. We like Mars these days. So when I click on that, left click on that, you'll see it pops up in the bottom left here. You'll see these different numbers and these different icons. These numbers at the top represent how much population. So right now, 0.3, which is abysmal. I mean, it's only Mars. So you can only have 0.3 of one colonist on there. This is important because depending upon how rich the colony is or how fertile the colony is will determine how productive or how much food or how fast it, not really fast it can grow, but how it can be fed and everything. So you double click on it, it'll bring up a screen, it'll give you a little bit more information, it'll tell you about it. It's actually quite wrong because it's not a methane atmosphere on Mars, it's actually carbon dioxide. So I've actually already said something to Dan on the forums to change that from methane to carbon dioxide, but hey, I'm a scientist. I can point these things out if I want to. Anyways, I'm not a scientist. Let's get out of this real quick. I'm not going to go into extreme detail on how these numbers affect each other. Leave it to say that the more population you have and the more richness in food you have, the more things grow. So, actually, we can take a better look at that in their next part. And we'll look at a colony over there, something that's already been colonized. As you see on Earth, you'll go right up here in a planet info screen and it'll show you right off the bat. You can go in and you can change the name of it. It'll tell you the class of the planet, Terran. Currently I think there's only 3 classes, Terran, Baron, and Gas Giants. I think those are the only ones available at the moment. So obviously Terran are better for colonizing. They have more population cap available to them. Not always the case. I've actually found some barons with a decent amount, though they usually lack fertility. You see Earth has fertility of 2 and a richness of 2. Now, let's skip that real quick and go down right to assigned labor. This is where you control how much output your population goes to. So if you pull your food all the way to the right, you'll see I have all of 14 of my population working on creating food. So now my population, basically I'll be pumping food out of my keister here. So if I do the same thing with production, I'll kick into production, and this is where I'm kind of confused. Is for whatever reason, food is on a 1-to-2 ratio, where production is at a higher ratio. So for every one population for each richness, you'll be producing, for instance, I'm producing 2 richness on this planet. So I'm technically, for every one population, creating 2 production. Where with food, for every one population, I'm only producing 1, or for every 2 fertility, I'm creating 1 food. So, but anyways, you can also lock these in place and move them out, you see, and do all different things. And you obviously are going to want research and all that. And it's the typical 4X type control. You can also let a governor manage this. There's the option of industrial, research, agriculture, military, core. I am not using them. I'm a micromanager. I like to manage my colonies. And there has been a few issues and bugs, though I'm assuming they've been taken care of, at least what I've read off in the forum, that some of these governors like to build a bajillion things and basically put your empire broke. And going broke sucks in this game because everyone will rebel and you'll lose your empire. So, also something to note, you can basically, let's say, like, I want this planet to be a production planet, and I'm going to go in the negative. Oops, let's see here. Got all these locked. Alright, I'm going to go in the negative with my food. So what happens here is, let's say I've got negative 2.8 food. So my population is eating more food than it's producing. So what I can do is I can have other colonies producing crap tons of food and importing it into my colony. And I can change that down here in this storage menu. Currently, this planet can only store up to 200. New colonies have a base of 30. And there's a warehouse where you can increase that to 100. So you can actually increase how much you store on a planet. Anyways, you can store, import, and export food based on how you set up your empire. But I'll leave that to you guys to figure out and mess around with on your own. Let's get out of this screen. Actually, before I get out of the screen, let's show you a little bit about building. You have the ability to build buildings, ships, and troops on various planets. Now, you actually need prerequisite buildings for this on other colonies. For other colonies, it's the spaceport for ships, and the troops, I believe it's an outpost, a military outpost, will allow you to build those various units on different planets. On Earth, the capital city handles the troops, hence you don't see a military outpost. So, but as you see, let's put a troop in here. You'll click on this, Me Plus, and you'll see this little number here indicates it takes 50 production to build it. Now, what that means is that every 5 seconds, which constitutes a turn, which I was getting into, every 5 seconds, 9.5 production will be applied to that Space Marine. Now, if I don't actually have that Space Marine in there, and this is empty, that 9.5 production will be dumped into my production storage. Just like any excess food, we put into this this food storage that can be used for whatever purposes you want to use it for. But anyways, something else you can do is you can rush units. Now, you need to make sure if you're going to be rushing it, you have production to rush it. Something else I just realized in my recent playthrough in the game is that, let's say I want to apply 10 production to this Space Marine. It'll take 10 out of my production, but it'll also take 10 out of my my actual treasury. So keep that in mind when you're rushing units, that you will be taking both the production of that planet and out of your treasury. Just an FYI. let's just finish him so I can get to a point. You'll see him jump up on there. And this will bring me to another part of the planet screen, and that is the ground assault view. Click on that, and let's unpause so we can get our Marine drop down. There he is. Alright, as you'll see, this is simultaneously happening at the same time everything is. So if you have a space battle going on around on the outside of your planet, and he's dropping troops onto your planet, those troops will be fighting simultaneously exact same time that your ships are, which is nice with the pause function. The way these units work is they actually have a certain amount of time between unit movement. So let's move him here, and you'll see that the timer kicked in, and it times down to his next action. 3, 2, 1. Alright, so now we can move again. And it'll move again. And that's basically the gist of ground combat. Now, I know it's been mentioned that it's going to get more in depth as the game is released. I've yet to see exactly more how it works. I haven't gotten too much in the ground combat. Believe it to be that you're going to need these guys for collecting artifacts from other planets that you eventually explore. So let's launch this guy off the planet. And you'll see him come out right there in a little shuttle. Back out here. Now that we've talked about a little bit about how the economy works and everything, let's get into let's show you a little bit about research. It's pretty basic, pretty put forward. You've got a certain amount of research that you will get a turn, and let's just for instance select that, and you'll see up here now you have 1.3 research every turn. So that aeroponics that I just selected you'll basically get 1.3 research applied to the 150 it takes to develop it over a course of time, which is 118 turns, which is roughly 600 seconds, which is a few minutes. I don't know. But let's just say that that's basically how research works. And you can queue up multiple researches or things that you're researching, move them up, and it's just your typical 4X research stuff. Right now, it's probably one of my biggest griefs I have with this game is in the beginning some of these can take a little bit longer than I would expect to get them. For instance, biospheres being one of them. It takes a while to get those biospheres because those allow you to actually turn non-habitable spaces to build into habitable spaces. So I feel that it takes a little bit too much to get to those, where some of the more later on in the game when you're producing like 12, 13, 14 research every turn, some of these late game ones, even these 2500, really don't take that long. I mean, you're talking about 25, 30, 40 turns for some of these just to get them, and I think it needs to be more well balanced. But I'm not going to comment too much more on that. Leave it to me. That's how research works in the game. So anyways, let's go into something else. Let's go into unit, how these units work. Obviously, you've got your colony ship here. Let's select our unarmed scout. Now, as you'll see, you just left click on him, and you can right click on him and give him certain orders. You see this little blue line indicates he's currently orbiting Earth. Now you have other things like you can actually assume control of him. You can scrap them. You can refit these into different units that you've built and designed, or you can pull up the orders menu and you can go exploring, empire defense. Different units with different modules have different things. For instance, this one can have the option of transporting goods, colonist transport, empire defense, and exploring itself. You can also do some of this down here in the bottom left, and you can do different things like obviously you can select him to resupply on your player, and same thing. We're just going to send him out to explore the galaxy. But before we do that, let's look over here to the left. What you're going to see is basically indicates assurance, the unit's defense versus boarding actions, which I've not even encountered, so I'm not going to go into detail. How much maximum power supply the ship has, the total power for the shields, doesn't have shields, and it's the current stores or ordnance it has, and it has nothing. It's a pretty basic ship. Now, if I hit tab, you'll notice that you'll see the outlay of the ship and what type of modules on it. There's not much to this one. It's basically got fuel cells, the engines, the nuclear reactors, and a cockpit. So it can basically just scout. That's all this thing's good for. Let's set him to scout. And he'll go off and score out, and you'll see it. He'll automatically start scouting the various space around. There he goes. He's off his StarDrive, and he's off. Now, as you saw before, you can actually go in and you can actually control your units, much like I said, escape velocity. So you go in and you'll see this capital ship I've got here, which I point out the prototype characteristic trait that you select in the beginning of the game actually gives you this ship. Normally, by default, you start with just a little shuttle-sized ship like that as your capital ship. Anyways, you see this one's got all sorts of advanced weaponry and all sorts of stuff. Just tab and turn that off. Oh, and by the way, these red lines, these represent each weapon's, basically their arcs, their weapon arcs for each weapon. Anyways, so like escape velocity, you can control your ship and where he goes. A little bit different in that you have WASD to control it back and forth and side to side. You can also right click and you'll shoot in that general direction and all that good stuff. Keep in mind, let's say I move him this way and then I release, he'll keep on floating that way for as long as he keeps on floating that way. So keep in mind, let's relinquish control from him and let him go back, and we'll bring him back over here. Now all this is a matter of selecting him, right clicking, and movement. As I said, pretty intuitive UI. Really, for the most part, there's not much more I can show you guys in this section of the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to another empire I already actually have up and running, and I'll show you guys some of the more in-depth aspects of the game and what I've done. So hold on just a minute. Alright, so now you see I've been playing this game through I don't know, I'm not sure how many years it's been so far, but it's been a while since I started this game. I got quite an extensive empire going here. I actually started off with the Volfar, and I hooked them up with cybernetics and a few other things, and they play a little bit different than a normal Volfar. Let's start off this section by going into these space lanes, these long red corridors that you see. You also see other races have their own corridors. Basically what these corridors are is they're means for your ships to travel from planet to planet faster. If they're out here in the fog of war, they'll move much slower. There is actually currently a bug right now where if they're moving through these space lanes, they'll actually stop at these projectors, which is actually what you do to create these lanes. All this is a matter of you go down here, I think, yeah, there it is, the deep space buildings. You select on a subspace projector, you place it, and you'll see that it has a certain range where it will actually project this. They also have sensors on them so you can see enemy units and stuff moving through space. So they serve two purposes. They're sensor platforms and they create space lanes. As you see, currently have a few ships moving over here. Let's move from space lanes really and talk about what their main purpose is. And that's really to expedite moving units, your military units from point A to point B, but more to that, they allow your ships to move faster and create more money by able to go from one planet to another quicker with your freighters. So for instance, you see this freighter right here, this YT-1300, and he is taking production from Vader 1, which is... So he's picking up production here, and he's probably going to ship it to another planet. Now, this brings in the next section, the Empire screen. Now, I've got all these various freighters that I've set up with either taking colonists from one place to another or goods from one place to another. Now, as you see, as you look at the Empire screen where you can control planets more easily from, you can set up so you can import and export goods. and food. It's a little bit weird because you guys are seeing all of this, and why is this food all blanked out? That's because I'm cybernetic. My species currently doesn't eat food, so I don't need to have that. Normally it would be open so that you could change the export, store, or import. So you can control things from there, and that's basically how trade works in the game. You can also trade with other empires. That's I'm not going to explain in as much detail just because I don't fully understand it just yet. But you know what? While we're at, let's jump right into that diplomatic section. Click on diplomacy. Alright. So in the beginning of the game, you will only see, obviously, you, and you'll have to find your empires like any other 4X game. Now with this, the way it works is you click on the various different races, you'll see that they have what type of play, or that they play, like the xenophobic expansionists, how they actually will play, aggressive industrialists, so on and so forth. It will also show you a strength for economic, scientific, and military. Obviously in population, the more you know about them. And this is very, very, very important in this game because, for instance, me right now, I'm #1 in just about everything but military strength, which as I play, I'll probably continue to make myself even more better at military. And once you become Billy Badass, what happens is all the other races tend to feel you as a threat and will tend to gang up on you, create a federation, and stomp your head in, unless of course you own half the galaxy like I currently, well, almost do. So just keep that in mind. Also, this will show you what artifacts you have found. Basically, all artifacts is, as you're exploring the universe, certain planets will pop up and say, hey, here's an artifact, which I'll show you over here. These little swirly looking things right here indicate that there's an anomaly, and these anomalies usually have artifacts. This planet, for instance, if you look at it, has this abandoned mine. So that's where those, in the diplomacy screen, let's get out of here, that's where these artifacts actually come from. Right now I have the Palanquin crystal, which the sensor range, and the population growth from the birth crystal. Those artifacts also give you other bonuses, like based in the research, you can open up secret technologies from the remnants. Now, I'm not sure if there's other secret technology besides remnant ones, but right now these are the ones I found in the game. If you get these in the game, at least as it currently is, research them. Research them, research them. The remnant reactor and the remnant shield, their ancient shield, is amazing. You can pretty much, once you get them, you don't need any other shield or any other reactor for the rest of the game. To a degree. Really, if you get the late game and you get into cruisers, battleships, and dreadnoughts, it's most likely that you're going to have stomped everyone else in that by that time anyways. So, as the game gets more balanced and more polished, that will probably change. We'll see. So, let's not get into too much detail. Back to diplomacy. So anyways, as you see, you've got these different things that tell you about each empire on the left side of the screen, and you can contact them. Now here's something that's really cool that I like about it. When you contact each race, what you do is you'll get this thing, you actually see a little, like an animation, and it kind of gives like this, it gives I don't know, a certain amount of charm to the game. It sets the tone for the game, and I really like how they did this. So for instance, with the Kalrathi, and how you'll see this, is you'll see that I've got a certain small amount of trust going with him. This trust, anger, and fear will determine how your diplomatic relations are with the various races in the game. The more someone's angry at you, the more likely they react to you really well, and the more they fear you, the more likely you can push around and make them do things, especially if they trust you already. So let's negotiate something. For instance, let's do a non-aggression pact. Because he trusts me, you have these three options down here where you can do pleading, respectful, and threatening. With him, because he's not mad at me, and he's not afraid of me, but he does trust me, probably better off just to go respectful. If he is scared shitless of me, I can threaten him, and if I've angered him a lot, I can always plead with them, which usually I have yet to plead. I'm at one to beg, so I tend to just threaten everyone else. It just depends. So let's just be respectful and see what he says, and we'll send the offer. See, he finds wisdom, and in some cases they'll become more trusting of you with those types of actions. So anyways, let's end. And each one of these has their own individual cool looking animation. Let's just look at him just because he's cool and he reminds me of me. And hey, what's up, dude? How's it going? I am so jealous of you and that ship. Anyways, see how he's fearing me? If I'm dealing with him, I could technically go in and push him around and threaten him. So yeah. Also keep in mind, this shows their bonus on the right side, what they get. That will help you determine how you react to these different people before you go into relations and all that stuff. Also in the diplomatic screen, you get the espionage and spying and whatnot. Now, I'm not a big fan of how this works, but I mean, it's okay. It's better in some 4X games out there, but it could definitely use a little bit more work. Basically how it is you can train new agents for 250 credits. I'm not sure if that changes from race to race, but you can train new ones, and they'll pop up, and they'll start with 1 star. Now, you can select these units, and you can go on, and you can actually train them. For instance, so him, I want to train him to the next thing, and just hit go, and for 50 gold, he'll train and go up another star. The more stars they have, the better rolls they'll have against whatever it is they're doing. So, for instance, this guy, Wolf the Crazed, he's currently targeting the Opterist to assassinate them. Now, let's say I want to do another thing against Opterist. So I pick up Terrorist, and I'll pick up, who's available? Alright, Drooler Biter. He's available. So I could click on him, and I could say, you know what, I want to steal some tech from them, or I want to do robbing, incite rebellions, and all that other stuff. This is where you do that at. So yeah, that's pretty much what you do with the diplomatic screen. I won't go into more detail on the espionage until the game is fully out, because I'm not sure if that's going to stay the way it is now. So, let's escape out of there. Alright, now, outside diplomacy, trade, and all that stuff, we get to my favorite part of the game, and where I spend probably half my game at. The shipyard. This is what separates this game from other games. Customizing. Now, as you see this little base hull that we got here. It's a little fighter hull. I think it's called a Type 1 for the Volfar. And it's got these little blocks with I, O, E, and O. And that represents the type of block. You have the outer, inner, engine, and inner outer. This will determine the type of modules that go into it. Now let's select a bigger hull than that. I don't like that. No, we won't go with that. We'll actually go with the Type 5. I like the Type 5. It's one of my favorite hulls. Actually, it's why I like the Volfar so much. What you do is I'll pull up this base hull, and you can go over here, and you'll have all these various, basically modules you can put on. You have weapons, power, defense, and specialty. As you unlock certain research, you unlock various weapons, just like any other game. So, each one of these requires you to fill every single one of these blocks, as you'll see down here in the bottom right. It needs to have a bridge or a cockpit, and it has to have no empty slots. So even if you've got, oh, I like my ship, but you got a million empty slots, which I learned the hard way, you can't save it. You can't do, well, you can save it, but you can't actually build that ship until it's fully laden. So let's pull up a ship I've already actually done. Let's load it, and fighter, and we'll pull up the Dreadfang. Now, as you see, I have all of these fully filled in. Now, as I said, you've got the engines, and only these engines, for instance, these are medium warp engines, and each one of these, when you select these units, will pop up, and it'll tell you what it does off to the left for the active module there. It'll tell you the mass, the health, the power, how much it costs, and other specific types, things that it has. What's to really show here that, God, this is hard to explain because there's so much to it. Really, this is all about balancing your ship and making it what you want. It's something you'll play around with a lot, and like I said, it really makes and breaks this game. Keep in mind, though, as you're playing, every time you add certain modules, like, for instance, if you add shields, it draws a certain amount of power. And you've also got to remember is, let's just let's cancel out some of these things. All right. As you see, let's play a rocket launcher up here. Now, if you notice, all of a sudden I'll place it. It's got this little no power icon. What it means basically that these reactors have a certain range on them on the actual ship. So if you want to be able to power your units, you have to have reactors, but at the same time you have to have reactors at a certain distance. Now, the other option for you to do is you can always go into power and set up conduits that connect your reactors to other units or expand outwards. I haven't really done too much with conduits because I've managed to efficiently put things on. I mean, it just depends on the ship type, the hull, and what you really want to get out of your unit. Don't have a whole lot of things available right now. Obviously, you've got other things like ordnance supply. You can pull up freighters. So nope, we don't want to save that. You pull up freighters, and you can set up your freighters however you want. Put various things on. You can make these into colonizing ships, and you can just do literally infinite amounts of things to them. I'm serious. It's ridiculous how much you can actually build. You can also click on this, and it'll show you the various arcs. So let's reload that fighter again. Load, and you'll see that the arcs actually show up the different weapon arcs. Now you can go in and select these, and you can actually let's turn off these, and all right, there we go. And you can actually select how this arc will actually be, and you can move it around. It's not all of them will be able to move, such as these who are stuck in that position. And obviously shields have their own range. Really, there's not too much else to explain in this window. This is really something that's trial and error. You're gonna mess around with it, but I'm gonna give you a few pointers if you're watching this, trying to get an idea if you want to play and how to play. I recommend two things. One, try to keep your FTL speed and sublight speeds at a decent amount. Of course, unless you've got freighters. Freighters I usually keep at a high FTL speed so that they can go from planet to planet super fast and deliver quicker, where sublight's not as important. But also, something equally is probably more important than all that is recharge and power recharge. Your engines, basically all your units draw a certain amount of power, and if your recharge is at a negative value, so for instance if you remove a couple of these, you'll see recharge at warp is negative 116. So you got this power capacity of 8,000. Every second that this ship is in warp, negative or 116 power will be reduced from that power capacity. Now you can actually go in and build these and build your power capacity to be really big and just rely on power capacity, or you can actually rely on power recharge from your actual reactors. It's really up to you, but I recommend trying to keep your recharge at warp at or around 0 at a minimum. I try not to go negative. I've actually created one ship at a negative, and that ship was focused on laser beams and cannons and a lot of power drawing stuff, and it was on and it was just that type of ship. So it all depends on what you want to do. But anyways, enough that blah blah. Let's get out of here, and let's just finish this let's showcase off with one last little thing. I want to show you guys a bit about combat. Now, we're already starting off here. Yeah, it's both these guys. Yep, that's right, guys. I've got both these Dread Fangs, and they're outfitted with a crap ton of missiles and shields, and they're gonna go in and rock these guys. So let's go in and let's just start a fight. Because you see, Zeres, or however you pronounce it, has a anomaly. Well, earlier in the game, I found out that anomaly is protected by douchebags. Douchebags being remnants. Remnants being basically drones that protect various things, or your random rat counters that you run into. So let's unpause. And they'll jump in. And boom. And we'll go in and we'll select both these guys. And I would take control of them, but in many cases, I think they can do a better job fighting. Not always, but in many cases. and we'll have him go in, and we'll have him target that guy and start firing. Something cool, you can leave tab on and see your different the actual modules, and as these modules take damage, they'll turn red and take damage. You can pull out of that and just see what's going on. Let's slow us down a tad. Both those guys got. Let's go out and we'll watch and bring this guy down. There we go. You see how the see how the modules are slowly getting destroyed down? Once that green reactor goes, and there he goes. So pause, and we'll bring out, and we'll switch over to. Actually, we'll take out one of these little guys. I always usually go for the least armor, or DPS, the high DPS, low armor guys first, then back. Let him go at that. We'll let him go over here. These guys are really resilient. They've got really good shields on them. Alright, let's go for this guy. Finish things off. Shields down. You can see his shield slowly going down. There they go. There you go. And he's done. Boom. Alright. So, just real quick before we go, let's go take a look at this artifact. Flying that troop ship. Now, to get artifacts, you have to have troop ships, so in the beginning of the game, it's a good idea to, actually, throughout the game, it's a good idea to fill your colonies with troops. I usually will have about 8 or 9, sometimes 10 at each colony, just in case, and once I get planetary shields, build them. They will save your ass. Believe me, you. Alright. So, it's kind of weird how this works, but you'd click on the planet, and you don't actually select the unit and be like, land there. No, he'll just orbit. You have to select a planet, go into ground assault view, and then you click on troops. Up in the upper left, you'll see this grunt. Now, we want this grunt to land on this abandoned mine. So, let's grab this grunt, and we'll drop him. Left click, drag, and drop him. So, it's infested. So, this ancient mine is infested, and all of a sudden a bunch of foes appear very suddenly. Surprise, surprise there. And you'll slowly watch, and this is weird because my unit technically already landed and discovered it, but along with him all these are units. So let's launch him like instantly. Oh, alright. Well, what would that basically what that mine rune would have done is, if I would have created a colony on this planet, I would have actually gotten a production bonus. So that's really kind of cool. How I like how they add that in. There's also some other stuff like researching these reverends. I'm not really sure what they do and how they work, but needless to say, there's a lot of little perks and stuff that I've yet to discover in this game. Especially when you go into the secrets. This remnant computer apparently allows you to find signals, and I'm hopefully going to find out that. It's pretty much it. Oh, something else kind of cool. And this is something overpowered, and I've actually posted on the forums as something I think needs removed. I actually picked up on a ruin, and it was a crashed ship that turned out being a fully usable ship. Well, it turned out being an ancient torpedo cruiser in the beginning of the game. This basically, I don't even need a military anymore. This unit could go around and crush I mean, it could, I mean, obviously it can still get beat, but this unit is basically way overpowered and can basically just walk over all the other empires. So, I think it's a little bit overpowered to be getting that early in the game. But, anyways, so that's my Let's Showcase of StarDrive. Hopefully in a month or so, I'll be able to actually do a full Let's Play this game when it's released, and we'll hopefully enjoy that. For my next Let's Showcase, I'm thinking I'm probably gonna do a Nemoria one, or maybe something else. We'll see what comes up, and I've got quite a few Kickstarters that I've gotten involved or funded, so we'll see when those betas and alphas open up, and we'll be doing more of them. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys all in the next let's showcase of some sort of game from Kickstarter. Peace!